The joke that changed everything. The cargo ship Iron Dawn drifted through the quiet stretch of space near the Vega Rim. Inside its steel halls, the crew worked like any other long night, fixing engines, checking scanners, and joking to keep away the silence. Among them was Alex Carter, a young human mechanic with oil stains on his jacket and a tired smile that never seemed to fade. He had survived battles, pirates, and long months away from Earth, but tonight he felt a strange kind of emptiness. As the crew shared stories over stale coffee, Alex leaned back in his chair, sighing. "Man," he said with a half-smile, "I've fought aliens, patched engines during firestorms, and seen death way too close. All I need now is a wife to handle the rest of my problems." The crew laughed, clapping him on the back. The joke spread down the mess hall like a spark. Someone shouted, "Better hope she cooks better than you." Another added, "Or she'll run away the second she sees this dump of a ship." Alex laughed too, shaking his head. It was only a joke, only words thrown into the empty night between stars. But the ship itself seemed to pause. The overhead lights flickered for a second. The air felt heavy, as if the joke had weight. Nobody noticed at first. They kept laughing. They kept teasing him. But the ship's AI, an old model wired into alien relic circuits, recorded every sound. Somewhere deep inside the reactor, something stirred, a pulse of energy not meant for human hands. Alex stood and stretched, trying to brush off the sudden chill crawling up his spine. "All right, I'm heading back to the engine bay," he said. The crew waved him off, still chuckling, but as he walked the narrow corridor, the air hummed with a low vibration, almost like a heartbeat. He paused, frowning. "Great. Now I'm imagining things," he muttered, shaking his head. In the engine bay, the reactor core gam glowed faintly blue as always, but tonight it pulsed. The rhythm was uneven, like a drum echoing from another world. Alex checked the readings, but the screen showed nothing wrong. Everything looked normal, and yet he felt watched. His skin prickled, his heartbeat quickened, and every breath felt too loud. He rubbed his face, laughing nervously to himself. "Get it together, Carter. You make one stupid joke, and now you're scaring yourself." He reached to tighten a bolt on the coolant pipe, but then the lights above dimmed. The ship groaned like a giant waking from a long sleep. His wrench slipped from his hand and clattered to the floor. The sound echoed like a gunshot in the silence. Behind him, a whisper slid through the air, too soft to understand, but enough to freeze him in place. He turned quickly, staring into the shadows of the engine bay. Nothing. Only the hiss of coolant, the hum of the reactor, the endless emptiness of space pressing against the hull. But then the whisper came again, clearer this time. Not from his ears, but inside his head. "You called, I heard." Alex staggered back, slamming against the console. His hands shook as he whispered, "What the hell?" The reactor flared, sending a wave of blue-white light across the room. The ship trembled. Alarms blinked on every screen. But no warning sound came, as if the AI itself was holding its breath. The pulse in the core grew louder, faster. The shadows thickened in the corners, swirling like smoke. He wanted to run, to call the captain, to tell someone, anyone, but his voice caught in his throat. The whisper turned into a voice deep and cold, yet strangely beautiful. "I come when I am summoned. A vow is a vow, even spoken in jest." The air turned icy. His breath came out in mist. The shadows twisted, forming a shape, tall and thin, draped in armor that glimmered like black glass. The figure stepped forward slowly, the sound of metal boots echoing. When it moved into the light, Alex's heart nearly stopped. She was no ordinary woman. Her skin was pale as moonlight, her hair black as the void outside the ship. Her eyes glowed a deep red, sharp and endless. Across her shoulder lay a blade forged of something that shimmered with alien light. She wore battle armor scarred by centuries of war. Her voice cut the silence like a knife. "You called for a wife, human, and I have come." Alex froze, his mind racing. No, I was joking. It wasn't real. I didn't mean it." But her gaze locked on him, burning with power. "Words are never empty in the dark between stars. Your vow binds me, and my oath binds you." The lights of the engine bay flickered again, then steadied, but the air remained heavy, pressing against his chest. For the first time in all his years among the stars, Alex Carter felt true fear, not from pirates, not from battle, but from the woman who had just claimed him. The ship groaned once more, the engines whispering like a warning. The crew above laughed at some old joke, not knowing their world had just changed. And Alex stood frozen before the stranger, who called herself his bride, her eyes glowing brighter with every breath he took. The joke had ended, and something far more dangerous had begun. The arrival of the bride. The engine bay was no longer silent. The hum of the reactor had turned into a deep roar, like thunder rolling under metal walls. The crew above felt the tremor, but they thought it was only the old ship shaking again. Only Alex knew the truth, because he was standing face to face with something that should not exist. The woman stood tall, her shadow stretching across the steel floor. Her armor was carved with marks that told of battles long forgotten, claw strikes, plasma burns, and symbols of strange alien wars. Her eyes glowed with a crimson fire, as if every drop of her blood carried war inside it. When she moved, the air bent around her. As though even reality did not want to be close to her, she looked at Alex, not with kindness, not with curiosity, but with absolute claim. "I am your wife now, bound by oath, bound by blood," she said, her voice calm but filled with a storm. Alex's mouth went dry, his legs stiff as stone. He managed to whisper, "No, this isn't real. I was only joking." The woman tilted her head slightly, her eyes narrowing. "In my world," she said, "jokes are sparks. Sparks light fire. Fire makes oath, and oaths call me across the void." The words sank into Alex like heavy chains. He wanted to laugh, to tell her this was madness, but his body felt trapped under her gaze. Her presence was more than fear. It was gravity, pulling him into her orbit. The crew's laughter from above felt distant now, like voices from another life. Suddenly the ship's AI spoke, its voice shaking with static. "Unregistered entity detected. Power signature beyond classification. Emergency protocol." The woman raised a hand, and the AI went silent. The lights dimmed as if obeying her command. Alex gasped, realizing she had just silenced a machine wired into alien tech, a system even the captain feared to touch. She took another step forward, boots striking the floor with sharp echoes. Every strike felt like a heartbeat inside Alex's chest. "Your words opened the gate," she said, "and through that gate I came. I am bound until death, yours or mine." Her hand reached toward him, not gently, but with the force of destiny. Alex stumbled back, shaking his head. "I didn't summon you. I don't even know who or what you are." The woman's eyes burned brighter. "I am Seraphina, war bride of the Crimson Knight, general of the Eclipse Legions, slayer of 10,000 worlds," she declared, her voice like thunder rolling across the stars. The ship itself seemed to shiver at her words, bulkheads groaning under the weight of her name. Alex's heart pounded. He whispered, "Vampire, you're a vampire." A small smile touched her lips, sharp teeth catching the light. "Your people call us many things," she said, "monster, demon, nightmare. But in truth, we are survivors, and now so are you, husband." The word cut through him like a blade. He wanted to scream, to run, to fight, but something deeper whispered that escape was impossible. The shadows bent around her, curling like smoke, and Alex realized with horror that she had not come alone. The portal behind her was still open, faintly glowing, and shapes moved within it, twisted forms with claws and wings, watching, waiting. Seraphina turned her head slightly, glaring at the shadows, and they froze, retreating into the dark. Even monsters obeyed her. Alex trembled, the weight of her presence pressing down on him. The ship's alarm suddenly blared, this time not silenced by her hand. The radar lit up, enemy signals approaching fast, dozens of ships, tearing through the void straight toward Iron Dawn. Seraphina's eyes narrowed. She looked at Alex, her voice steady as stone. "They followed me. They will tear your ship apart to reach me. Your joke has already drawn blood." Alex stumbled forward, panic rising in his chest. "What do you mean? They're after you. What do they want?" Seraphina turned her blade, its edge shimmering with black fire. "They want the bride who answered your call. They want me dead, and if they cannot kill me, they will kill you to break the vow." Her eyes locked on his, unblinking. "So tell me, husband, will you hide behind your steel walls, or will you fight beside me?" The ship rocked violently as the first blast struck the outer hull. Crew members screamed above, alarms wailed, the lights flickered. Alex stood frozen, staring at the woman who called herself his wife. The joke that had started in laughter had turned into war, and as the shadows of enemy ships closed in, Alex realized this was only the beginning. The Vampire Warrior's claim. The ship trembled as enemy fire hammered the hull. Red warning lights flashed through the corridors, alarms howled, and the crew rushed to battle stations. But deep inside the engine bay, Alex Carter was trapped in a moment that felt larger than war. The pale warrior woman stood before him, her crimson eyes glowing like fire behind smoke, her blade humming with ancient energy. She stepped closer, unshaken by the shaking ship. "Listen, human," she said, her voice steady. "You made a vow, and I have come to honor it. By blood and by stars, you are mine, and because of that, you now stand in my war." Alex's heart pounded. He shook his head, his voice breaking. "I never swore anything. It was just a joke." Her gaze sharpened, piercing him like a blade. "There is no such thing as just a joke in the places I come from. Words are power. Power calls warriors. Warriors carry blood and fire. You spoke, and I answered." She raised her armored hand and touched the glowing core of the reactor. The blue light bent and pulsed, as if the machine itself bowed before her. Alex's stomach turned as he realized she was not only flesh and blood, she was something greater, something bound to forces humans barely understood. "Do you see?" she asked, her voice lower now, almost a whisper. "The ship hears me. The shadows obey me. Even your machines bend to my oath. You cannot escape what you began." Above, explosions rattled the hull again. Screams echoed down the corridors. The captain's voice came over the intercom. "All hands. Enemy fleet inbound. Brace for impact." But the woman did not flinch. Her eyes never left Alex. "You must choose, husband. Will you deny me and see your curry? You slaughtered, or will you claim me and fight beside me?" Alex's hands shook. His mind screamed that this was madness, yet his gut told him it was real, more real than anything he had faced. His friends were up there, his captain, his crew, people who trusted him. If he said no, if he rejected her, would the ship even survive? But if he said yes, what would that mean for him, for Earth, for humanity itself? The woman, Serafina, suddenly turned her head, her eyes narrowing. Through the walls, through the steel, she felt the enemy approach. "They are here," she said coldly, "hunters from the ashen void. They have crossed galaxies to claim my head, and now they will claim yours too." She looked back at him, her crimson eyes blazing. "Stand with me, and you will live. Refuse me, and you will die with the rest." The floor shook violently as another blast struck, sending sparks raining from the ceiling. Alex stumbled, but she stood perfectly still, her armor catching the flicker of failing lights. Her presence was not just terrifying, it was magnetic, pulling him toward her despite every instinct telling him to run. He thought of his words back in the mess hall, the careless joke that had summoned her. It felt absurd, but somehow it had written his fate. Her voice cut through the chaos, sharp as her blade. "You called for a wife, and I have come. I am no servant, no fragile companion. I am blood. I am fire. I am your shield and your doom, and by oath, I claim you." She stepped closer, so close he could feel the chill of her breath. Her hand lifted, not in kindness but in command, and she touched his chest with the tip of her clawed gauntlet. A burning pain seared his skin as strange markings flared faintly, glowing through his shirt. He gasped, grabbing his chest. "What? What did you do?" Her eyes glimmered. "I marked you, husband. So long as I live, you cannot die. So long as you live, I cannot be slain. Our blood is now one." Though, ship rocked again, and distant screams filled the comms, but Alex barely heard them. His mind spun, his breath caught, his heart raced. He wanted to reject her, to scream that he was no one, that he never asked for this. But the fire spreading through his chest told him it was already too late. The oath was sealed, and he was bound to a war he could not understand. Serafina raised her blade, turning toward the sealed bulkhead doors. The sound of claws and metal echoed on the other side. Enemy boarding parties were cutting through. Her voice was calm, almost cold. Your war begins now, husband. Stand or fall, but know this, whether you wish it or not, you are mine. The doors buckled under pressure, sparks flying as steel screamed against steel. Alex staggered back, gripping a wrench with trembling hands, his chest burning with the mark she left. Above, the crew screamed. Below, the doors broke open, and Serafina, his unwanted bride, raised her blade with a smile sharp as death. "Let them come," she whispered. "We will paint this ship with their blood." First test of blood and fire. The steel doors finally gave way with a deafening crack. Molten edges glowed red as metal claws ripped them apart. The first enemy burst through, a towering beast of bone and shadow with 6 jagged limbs and a mouth filled with teeth sharper than blades. Its scream echoed like nails tearing across the universe, a sound that shook every bone in Alex's body. The crew above screamed into the comms, but their voices were drowned out by the roar of battle. Serafina did not flinch, her crimson eyes locked on the intruders with a cold hunger. Her blade hissed with black fire. She whispered one word, a word Alex did not understand. The air bent, the shadows themselves pulled back, and then she moved. To Alex, it was not movement but lightning. 1 second she stood, the next she was among the creatures. Her blade cut through the first monster, slicing it in half as easily as paper. Its blood sprayed across the walls, but instead of dripping, it turned into smoke, hissing into nothing. The second beast lunged, but Serafina spun, her armor catching the strike, her clawed hand ripping straight through its skull. Alex stumbled back, the burning mark on his chest glowing with each heartbeat. Every time her blade struck, he felt it in his own chest, like thunder crashing inside his veins. He gasped, clutching his shirt. But then something strange happened. As she fought, strength rushed through him too. He could breathe easier. His body felt lighter, his heart steadier. It was as if her power was flowing into him, or maybe his life was keeping her alive. The third creature broke through the doorway, but this one did not charge Serafina. It turned on Alex, sensing weakness. Its jagged claws slashed toward him, and Alex froze, his wrench shaking in his hands. But before he could scream, Serafina's voice cut through the chaos. "Stand, husband. The mark binds you. Fight, or be torn apart." The beast lunged, and Alex swung the wrench wildly. He expected it to be useless, but when the wrench connected, a burst of energy exploded outward. The creature flew back, its chest caved in, black smoke pouring from the wound. Alex stared at the tool in his hands, shocked. His strike had carried her strength, her fire, her fury. He gasped, his mind reeling. What did I just do?" Serafina laughed, sharp and cold. "You carry my mark, you share my blood. When I fight, you fight, and when you fight, our enemies fall twice." More creatures stormed through the door, their bodies scraping, their voices screeching. Dozens of them poured into the engine bay, filling it with smoke, claws, and death. The ship rocked again as more enemy fire struck from outside. Alex backed against the console, his wrench glowing faintly with strange energy. He had never been a warrior, never wanted to be one, but now survival demanded it. Serafina's blade carved through the swarm. Her movements sharp, merciless, beautiful in their brutality. She fought like she had done this for centuries, every strike precise, every kill certain, but the enemies did not stop. For each one she killed, 2 more poured through the torn doorway. Alex swung again, striking one that leapt at him. The wrench cracked bone and the beast fell, hissing. His chest burned with fire, his arms ached, but something inside him refused to give up. He was tied to her now, tied to her war. The AI flickered back to life, its voice broken and terrified. "Warning, hull breach. Enemy numbers beyond defense capacity. Survival chance less than 4%. Alex wanted to scream at the machine to shut up, but Serafina only smirked. 4% is more than enough, she whispered, her eyes blazing red as she cut down another beast. Her confidence was unshakable, terrifying but also infectious. For the first time, Alex felt the spark of something dangerous inside himself. Hope mixed with fury. Then the walls shook harder, a deeper sound rolling through the ship. Not claws this time, not boarding beasts, but something bigger. The AI stuttered. "Warning, enemy warlord-class ship docking, signature unknown." Serafina's expression shifted. For the first time Alex saw it. Not fear, but recognition. She lowered her blade slightly, her voice heavy with memory. "He has come," she said, almost to herself. "The one who hunted me across galaxies. The one who swore I would never escape. He has found me again." Alex swallowed hard, his wrench slipping in his sweaty grip. "Who?" he whispered. Seraphina's eyes glowed brighter, her fangs catching the light. "My oldest enemy," she said. "The one who killed my first legion. The one who swore to end my bloodline. He is here for me, but because of you, he will not stop until you are ash as well." The ship rocked violently as the docking clamps locked into place. The roar of something massive echoed through the corridors. Seraphina raised her blade again, fire rolling across its edge. She looked at Alex, her voice sharp and commanding. "Steel yourself, husband. Your joke has summoned not only a bride, but a warlord of the void. Our first battle was nothing. Now the true test begins." The bulkheads groaned, footsteps heavier than any beast thundered closer. Alex gripped his wrench, his chest burning with her mark, and as the shadows deepened, Seraphina whispered with a smile cold as death. "Tonight you learn what it means to be bound to me in blood and fire. The choice of loyalty." The sound of heavy footsteps echoed through the corridor like thunder. Each step was slow, deliberate, filled with power. The beasts that had swarmed into the engine bay suddenly froze, their screeches dying into silence. Even monsters knew fear, and their fear came from the one who was now approaching. Alex gripped his wrench tighter, his chest still burning with the mark Seraphina had left. Every instinct told him to run, to hide, to find his captain and crew, but he couldn't move, because the presence that drew nearer felt like a storm pressing against his lungs. Seraphina stood tall, her blade resting at her side, her crimson eyes narrowing. She knew who it was, and the weight of her voice confirmed it. "He comes, the warlord of the Ashen Void," she whispered, "the one who swore to break me." The bulkhead doors shuddered, bent, and then collapsed inward as if ripped by invisible claws. Through the broken steel stepped a giant figure, armored in black iron that seemed forged from the bones of dying stars. His face was hidden behind a jagged helm, his eyes burning with sickly green fire. Behind him, the air itself seemed poisoned, shadows trailing his steps like smoke. Seraphina raised her blade, her voice calm but sharp. "Krios," she said, "you still crawl after me, even across galaxies." The warlord's voice rolled out deep and cold. "You swore an oath you could not keep, bride of Crimson Night, and now you bind yourself to a human child, pathetic." His gaze shifted to Alex, and Alex felt his knees almost buckle under the weight of that stare. This was no ordinary enemy. This was something ancient, a predator of predators. Krios took one step forward, and the deck groaned under his weight. "You belong to me, Seraphina. Your blood, your power, your throne, all of it should have been mine. And now I will kill your little human and end your farce of a marriage." Alex's heart pounded, his mind screaming at him to deny it all. He was no warrior, no hero, only a mechanic who made a careless joke. And yet, her mark still burned. His chest glowed faintly, his body filled with a strange strength he couldn't deny. Seraphina's voice sliced through the heavy air. "You will not touch him," she said, her tone like steel drawn across stone. "He is mine. Bound by vow, bound by fire. Kill him, and my oath burns through you as well." Krios laughed, the sound like grinding metal. "Then let him prove it. Let him show he is more than a coward hiding behind your shadow." Alex froze as the warlord pointed a massive blade directly at him. The weapon shimmered with dark energy, and even the ship's AI stuttered in terror. "Warning," it whispered. "Power levels beyond measurable range, but probability of survival less than 1%. Alex's mouth went dry. His wrench felt like a toy compared to Krios's weapon. He turned toward Seraphina, his voice shaking. "I can't fight him. I'm nothing. Just a human. Just a mechanic." Seraphina stepped closer, her eyes glowing brighter. "You are marked, husband. My blood is your blood. My fire is your fire. If you run now, you die. Not only yourself but your crew. If you stand, you become more than human." Her words burned into him, not just command but something heavier, truth. He looked at Krios, at the army of beasts behind him, and then at Seraphina. Every part of him screamed to run, but something inside refused. The mark on his chest pulsed harder, hotter, as if daring him to choose. Krios roared, his voice shaking the ship. "Choose now, human. Deny her, and I'll give you a quick death. Accept her, and you'll suffer until you break." Alex clenched his jaw, his wrench trembling in his grip. His fear was real, but so was the fire in his chest. The fire she had given him. He lifted his head, his voice low but steady. "I don't want this. I never asked for this. But if it means saving them, if it means fighting you, then I'll stand with her." Seraphina's smile was small but sharp, her eyes blazing with pride. The mark on his chest flared like a sun, energy surging through his veins. His wrench glowed brighter, the steel humming like a living weapon. Krios tilted his head, his burning eyes narrowing. "So be it," the warlord growled. "You chose your grave. Now you will drown in it." The beast roared again. The deck shook, the air grew thick with smoke and power. Seraphina raised her blade, her voice fierce. "Then let this be the test, husband. Let blood and fire decide if you are worthy of my vow." Alex stood at her side, his heart racing but his grip steady. For the first time, he did not feel like a mechanic, not like a fool who told the wrong joke. For the first time, he felt like a warrior. The warlord charged, the beasts howled, the ship shook as battle began again. And in that moment, Alex Carter knew the choice had been made, and there was no turning back. Shadows of a larger war, the clash between Seraphina and Krios shook the ship like a dying star. Every strike of their blades cracked the air, sending shockwaves that rattled steel walls and shattered lights. The beasts that had swarmed into the bay scattered, not daring to step between the two titans. Alex stood at the edge of the battle, his chest glowing with the mark, every heartbeat sinking with Seraphina's power. Krios's voice thundered as his blade met hers. "You cannot run forever, Seraphina. The void has swallowed your armies. Your legions lie in ash, and now you cling to a human child for survival," Seraphina snarled, her eyes burning crimson. "Better a human with courage than a warlord who hides behind fear." Their blades locked, sparks of black and red fire bursting outward. Alex felt the energy crash through his body like lightning. Every strike they exchanged pulled him deeper into their war. The ship groaned under the strain. The captain's voice crackled over comms, panicked. "Carter, what is happening down there? We're being torn apart." Alex's throat tightened. He wanted to answer, to explain, but how could he? What could he say? That a vampire bride and a void warlord were fighting over his joke? Before he could respond, the intercom cut out, replaced by static. Seraphina forced Krios back with a blast of crimson energy, her voice sharp. She turned to Alex. "This battle is not about this ship. It was never about your crew. This is bigger, far greater than you know," Alex shouted back, his voice shaking. "Then why me? Why my words? Why drag me into your war?" Her blade whirled in her hand, deflecting another strike. "Because you spoke the oath, and the oath cannot be ignored. But listen, Alex Carter, understand this truth. Your world is not safe. Earth is not safe. The war of blood and void is already at its doorstep." Alex froze, his stomach twisting. He thought of his home, the streets of Earth, the people living their lives with no idea of the monsters clawing at the edges of the stars. He whispered, "You mean they'll come for Earth?" Seraphina's eye flared. "They already are. Krios will not stop with me. His kind do not conquer. They devour, and your planet is ripe for their hunger." Krios laughed, his voice echoing like a storm. "Do you hear it, human? She binds you with fear, but the truth is worse. The Void Lords have already marked your species. Your Earth will burn, with or without her." Alex's blood ran cold. His joke had summoned Seraphina, but even without her, humanity was already a target. This was not only her war, it was theirs too. The deck shook violently as more enemy ships latched on to Iron Dawn. The AI screamed warnings. Multiple breaches detected, enemy boarding parties flooding sectors 3 through 9, shields failing, reactor stability at 20%. The crew above shouted orders, blaster fire rattled through the corridors, the ship was dying, and Alex knew, without Seraphina, they would already be dead. But with her, they were tied to something much greater, a shadow war spanning galaxies. Seraphina struck again, her blade cutting through Krios's armor. For the first time, black blood sprayed from the warlord's chest, hissing as it hit the steel floor. But he only laughed, gripping his blade tighter. Strike me, bleed me, it does not matter. For every wound you give me, 10 more worlds will fall. My masters are already coming. You cannot stop the tide. Alex's chest burned brighter, the mark pulsing until he gasped. Visions flashed in his mind. Worlds burning, oceans boiling, skies ripped apart by fleets of black ships. He saw Earth among them, its cities crumbling, its skies filled with shadow. He staggered, clutching the console for balance. Seraphina's voice reached him, sharp, commanding. Do you see now? This is the war I fight. This is the war you are bound to. This is the price of your words. Alex swallowed hard, his fear twisting into something else. Anger. He looked at Seraphina, her crimson eyes blazing as she stood between him and Krios. He shouted, Then teach me. If I'm bound to this, if I'm already in it, then teach me how to fight. Teach me how to survive it. For the first time, Seraphina's expression shifted, a flicker of respect crossing her sharp features. You choose the path of blood, then so be it, she said, her voice almost proud. From this moment, you are no longer only human. You are my blade, my shield, my partner in war. Krios roared, his blade slamming into the deck, splitting steel like paper. You dare to make him your equal? He is nothing. Seraphina's eyes flared, her fangs flashing. Then let him prove you wrong, she whispered. She turned to Alex, her voice fierce. Fight, not for me, not for this ship. Fight for your Earth. Fight for your kind. Fight, and learn what it means to stand in the shadows of war. The beast surged again, flooding the engine bay with claws and teeth. The warlord raised his blade for a killing strike. Seraphina and Alex stood side by side, her weapon burning with ancient fire, his wrench glowing brighter than ever. The mark on his chest pulsed in rhythm with hers, their power fused, and as the void closed around them, Alex Carter realized the truth. This was not only Seraphina's war anymore, it was humanity's. The final bond. The engine bay was a storm of fire and shadow. Beasts poured through shattered doors, their claws tearing steel, their screams shaking the air. Seraphina's blade danced with crimson fire, each strike cutting through monsters like smoke. Alex fought at her side, his wrench glowing with the same strange power, every swing fueled by the burning mark on his chest. For the first time, he did not feel like prey. For the first time, his strikes mattered. Every beast he crushed fed energy back into him. Every motion tied him closer to her. Their bond was no longer just words. It was blood, fire, and survival. Krios, the warlord of the void, watched with burning eyes. His laughter rumbled through the bay, low and cruel. So the human learns to crawl, he mocked, raising his massive blade. But crawling will not save him or you, Seraphina. You may bind him with your curse, but I will tear the both of you apart. He charged, the floor cracking under his weight. His blade swung down like a hammer meant to split worlds. Seraphina blocked it, the impact shaking the ship, sparks flying like stars in miniature. Alex staggered, but his chest burned brighter, the mark pulling him forward. He shouted, swinging his wrench at Krios's armor. The impact exploded with force, sending a shockwave that knocked lesser beasts flat. Krios grunted, his head snapping toward Alex. You dare strike me, insect? Alex's body trembled, but he stood tall, his voice steady. I'm done running. You want Earth, you want me, then you'll have to go through both of us. Seraphina's crimson eyes glowed brighter at his words, her smile sharp and deadly. That is the vow of a husband, she whispered, and now it binds us fully. The mark on Alex's chest exploded in light, searing across his skin. Lines of glowing red spread down his arms, wrapping his veins in fire. The same light blazed from Seraphina's armor, their bond igniting like a star. Their breaths synced, their hearts beat as one. He felt her strength pour into him, and she felt his defiance burn inside her. They were no longer two, but one will, one blade, one fire. The beasts recoiled, hissing in fear. Even Krios paused, his burning eyes narrowing as he saw the light of their bond. What is this? He growled, his voice shaking the deck. Seraphina's voice rang out, cold and powerful. This is the oath complete. This is the final bond. Our lives are tied. Our power is shared. He is mine, and I am his. And together, we are more than you can kill. Krios roared and swung his blade, but this time Alex raised his wrench at the same moment Seraphina raised her sword. The two weapons struck together, crimson and black fire colliding in a storm of light. The impact tore through the ship, ripping walls apart, throwing beasts into flames. For a heartbeat, Krios himself stumbled back, his armor cracked by the combined strike. The ship's AI flickered, its voice broken. Warning. Enemy fleet numbers rising. 42 ships detected. Planetary weapons charging. Reactor collapse imminent in 2 minutes. The crew screamed through comms, the captain's voice lost in chaos. The Iron Dawn was not just in danger, it was already doomed. Serafina turned to Alex, her eyes blazing with both fire and urgency. The ship cannot hold. The fleet will tear it apart. If we stay, we die here. Alex shouted over the alarms. Then what do we do? Her fangs glinted in the red light, her voice sharp. We leave this ship. We carry the war to them, husband. But to survive, you must give me everything. Alex froze, his chest burning hotter than ever. What do you mean? Everything. Serafina stepped closer, her presence overwhelming, her words heavy with finality. The bond is strong, but incomplete. To face the fleet, we must seal it fully. You give me your life, your will, your humanity, and in return, I give you the power to stand against armies. It is the only way. The ship rocked violently as another barrage struck, explosions tearing through the decks above. Crew members screamed, fire raged through the corridors, time was running out. Alex looked at her, at the glowing crimson eyes of the woman who had claimed him, a stranger, a vampire, a warlord's bride, and yet, without her, Earth would burn, humanity would die, and his crew would already be dead. Krios's voice thundered over the chaos. Choose human, bind yourself fully and become her slave, or reject her and burn with your world. Either way, you are mine to break. Alex's heart pounded, his breath ragged, the marks searing like fire across his chest. Serafina reached out, her hand trembling not with fear but with intensity. Decide, Alex Carter, do you remain only human, or do you become something more? The deck split, fire roared, enemy ships closed in. Alex gripped his wrench tighter, sweat dripping down his face, his body screaming under the weight of the choice. And then, he stepped forward, his hand slamming into hers. The bond flared, crimson light exploding across the bay, shaking the ship to its core. The beast screamed, Krios shielded his face, the crew above fell silent. In that moment, Alex Carter and Serafina were bound fully, their souls one, their fire eternal. The final bond was complete. Serafina whispered, her voice sharp as fate itself. Now, husband, we make war. The ship's hull cracked, enemy fleets surrounded them. The warlord roared in rage, and as light consumed the bay, the story of Alex Carter, the human who joked about needing a wife, was only beginning.